What's up, everybody? How's it going? We are back with another Ask Tim, where I'm Tim, and you ask me questions, and I give you answers. I do have some new stuff to plug here. These will be coming to our site. Oh man, look at the glare off my camera lens. They're a little bright. I've been playing with them. Hang on, maybe I should clean. Maybe I should clean my camera. Here, hang on. Let's see. Squeaky clean. Is that any better? Let's see. We'll see. I guess the alcohol has to dissipate. You guys like my my $10 impulse purchase? This was something. We're not selling these, but I can from an app on my phone. I can go ahead and change it. Let's put something better up here. I can go ahead and send it over. Let's see. There. Up. 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 Hang on. There it goes. We'll just leave that up. How's that? This is one of those things where one of those Chinese sellers asked me if I could leave an Amazon review, and I was like, why not? So, and of course we start the stream. So we have a squeaky toy. Of course we do. We haven't touched a squeaky toy all day, but as soon as I start streaming, he's got to grab one. So yeah, we're gonna let that roll here. Yeah, I guess these just are not. My camera does not like these in terms of the glare. But I was playing around with the M150 command. This is hooked up to our EasyBoard V1 with our Easy Neo strip here, and I do have. I can't really pull it up. I'll just have to disconnect it. But just playing with these, I'm gonna put these on most of my machines. I'm not even gonna lie; they're all gonna look like Christmas trees when I'm done. The team is packing the universal power adapters to power these. We do have the little adapters to make this plug and play installation with the EasyBoard. We are still waiting on the little jumper wires. So, but the universal wiring and the documentation is basically done. I'm going to put a link on the Easy Neo site, the product page, where if there's like a board that's not covered in terms of what I/O pins you can tie into, because all you need to hook these up is a 5-volt power source. And some boards like you know the SKR 1.4s, these have a built-in 5-volt regulator that can handle these, as well as their V1.2 and V2.0 SKR E3s. My only concern with those are those 5-volt regulators are not very well known for being stable. So we do have the little power adapters. I have one here that I wired up for the video. It's this tiny little guy right in here for the, oh god, I tangled it. Hang on. I need to untangle my wires here. So I am going to record a video on this, but this is a little tiny step down. You put your 12 to 24 volts in here, and then you get 5 volts out. So these go right into the 3-pin JST. So there's guides on this already, and I got to touch base with the team, but I should be able to stock that stuff tomorrow. So nice little compact 5-volt step down that'll work great with these. I have documentation for quite a few boards on our site using the step down for the ones that don't have enough 5-volt power on them, and where to connect everything with all the I/O pins labeled. And I also will be pushing a firmware update for Unified that will roll out the Easy Neo settings for these strips for multiple boards that we support, to make setup easier. So I hope you guys are ready to add some RGB to your printers, because they're really bright as shit. I did not realize how bright these were until I turned the lights off. But you can change them to whatever color you want. I'm just doing this from the LCD. You can also send G-code commands and do patterns and stuff with them. But just from your printer LCD, you can change to different colors right from here. And if you, like, this is just a test bench setup. Obviously, there's no printer hooked up, but if I actually had this hooked up to a printer and started a print, it actually acts like a progress bar that changes colors pixel by pixel until the preheat cycle is done. And once the preheat cycle is done, it will change to full brightness white, so you can actually see the print going. So, and then I've got some boards I got to go through as well tonight. There's a guy that sent me a couple boards. I don't know if he's in the chat. I got to pull up his name. I want to say his name was David something. But I will have a couple easy boards. I'll post them in the Call to TH3D chat and give people first dibs on those. But the V2 is still being worked on right now. I got to pull up and try to see. Oh, there's someone named David asking about boards. Let's see here. I cannot find this in my email. I'll search later. I don't need to go through emails. So anyways, we'll have these available for purchase this weekend. The strips, if you guys want them. For you guys with EasyBoard V1s, you will have to wait on the little universal adapters. I'm going to actually show you guys how these go on, and then we'll move on to the Q&A. Just bear with me. I'm disconnecting the power input from here. So it's pretty ingenious how we did this. So hang on one second. Sorry, I had to tell the dog to stop. So this is how we're actually doing the board. So we have our easy board. This is the V1.2, and this is the little adapter. So there's actually a little leg that goes on the back of the board to prevent it from sagging. You plug this right on to the 6-pin header here. Okay, and then you plug this into the fan 2 port. Now you're probably wondering, well, if this is taking up my fan port, I just lost a fan port, except we pass it through. So you can actually plug whatever you had plugged into fan 2 can plug right into the other port right here, and then the pixels themselves connect to the 3-pin connector here. So what we're doing is we're actually grabbing ground from the 6-pin header here, and then we're grabbing whatever your input voltage is, whether it's 12 or 24, the positive leg over this cable, because when you're dealing with fans, you're using a MOSFET to switch to ground. So this is a nice little quick way, no soldering involved. You literally plug it in. We're waiting on these little cables here. I actually had to make my own so I could get the documentation done and the product page done, but we're waiting on this little cable, little 2-pin JST jumper, and then we'll have those ready. So it'll be a nice clean installation, and you just plug it in and update the firmware, and it's the pixels will work. It's got its own little, there's actually a whole 5-volt step down on here. Hang on. Sorry, the dog was getting loud again. But yeah, so just waiting on these little cables here. But the strips themselves will be available if you guys want to use like the universal installation. We do have a ton of these little step downs you can wire up. And there's also guides already. So if you want to see what's involved, just go to our help center, and there's an Easy Neo section, and I've got all the documentation with step-by-step pictures. So let's get into the Q&A. That little board was designed by Griffin over at Paquette Engineering. He's actually the guy we work with to get our easy board design. So all the same people. I designed the little foot on here. So, but Griffin does all of our board production, whether it's our easy boards or easy ABLs, like the easy ABL control board. So he runs all the production and does the bulk of the design for us. So a really good guy. I actually met him online. But let's see. Let's get into what we're here for. And the giveaway stream is open. And I did get, did you guys, how many of you guys got an email notification from our system? Because I got it at like 4:33. So I actually got an email from myself at 4:33 here. So it is working. But all right. Let's see who the first question is. I think it's Sean. Sean said he got his Easy ABL working in a 12864 I gave the Ender 3 V2. Okay. Oh, I think it means I have the Ender 3 V2 with the 422 board. The instructions say to uncomment that line, but I had to uncomment the line for Ender 3. Yeah, it really doesn't matter. We do have options in there. So here's the thing. When you're dealing with like an Ender 3 V2 with a 422 board has Trinamic 2208s on it. So you can set in Marlin different driver settings and it does slight timing adjustments. And best practice is you tell it what driver you have. Now, the thing with the 2208s is that it doesn't make that big of a difference if you tell it it's a 4988, which is the Marlin default, versus a 2208, especially if it's in standalone mode. Now, if you're in UART mode, you definitely want to tell it you have a 2208 because it needs the additional code to control the drivers over UART. But in the case of the 422 board, where those drivers are in what's called standalone mode, they're just dumb mode. The processor isn't able to control the drivers directly like you can on, like our board here. This has 2208s, but we have them in UART mode, so we can actually control the drivers and set parameters, change the stepping mode, the current going in the motor, etc. But when you're in standalone mode, that's all just, it's at defaults. And the VREF is a manual adjustment. So what I'm getting at is you don't really have to tell it in our firmware that you have Trinamic drivers. It's just in there as a best case scenario because a bunch of neckbeards were complaining about how we weren't setting the drivers to the correct settings, even though it works fine with the 4988. So to stop getting messages complaining about not setting the correct driver settings, we have an option so you can turn it on and tell it you have Trinamics. But the reality of it is that it works either way. But Sean said it keeps forgetting his Z offset. It saves, but it doesn't take. So usually when I have printers that don't save their offset correctly, I will reset the EEPROM, store the EEPROM, and then power the printer off, do a full reset and power cycle. I don't know why it does that, but I have had that experience, and it's usually on... I had that happen on my Ender 6 after I updated the firmware, so which has the same processor that's on your 422 board. But usually if you have an issue where it's like, oh, the EEPROM's not saving, it's few and far between, but I found doing a reset and save and then turn off the printer, turn it back on, will usually get things working correctly. Let's see what the next question is. Tin Man, he said he had a great question about Z-Wobble and was going to ask, but then I figured out my Z-stepper mount bracket was loose. That would do it. Usually Z-Wobble is a physical issue. It's usually never anything electronic unless... No, it's usually physical. I'm sure there's like some fringe case I'm not thinking of that it's not physical, but I see a lot of green in the chat. I like it. I see a field of green. Oh, hang on. Let me see. I can't think of anything witty to put in the hat, so we're gonna leave it. I like this for it was like $10 with the discount code. I think it's funny. I would not sell this because there's definitely a sketchy Chinese app. It's probably stealing all my data as we speak, but it's cool. Anyways, I'm getting sidetracked. Derek is asking, any preference for single or dual geared extruders and why? I really don't have a preference. I use both. We sell the single gear one, the single drive gear ones, like the Titan design, and that's what I have on most of our machines, but I also have machines here with genuine Bondtechs on them, like the Daedalus behind me. We have some with, Bondtech inspired clones, like the Anycubic Mega Zero. I think they both work well. I do think sometimes the dual drive gears do help, but I haven't had any complaints with the single geared style like the Titans, or what we call the tough extruder. So basically, as long as your tension's set correctly, it's going to drive the filament. Yeah, I don't actually have a preference. Whatever works and whatever I have. So Nemo Griff said he posted a picture in Discord. Hopefully it's the Livestreams channel, because that's the only one I'm pulling up. We have so many channels in there. Yes, he did. Thank God. All right. He said, any idea why this weird banding is happening? Is PETG if that makes any difference. And I think I know what's happening here. And it's a very simple solution. I just gotta make sure I close out. Hang on, I gotta close like I forgot to close all my chat clients here, because I don't need like private messages popping up while I'm trying to stream. I'm sorry, I'm not fancy. I don't have like a dedicated stream PC, you know, like the just chatting streamers here. But anyways, so I see what you're talking about right here, this like banding, and this usually, you're gonna laugh, this usually is a case of your layer fan blowing around the part, or the walls just flexing, because this looks like, I can't tell if this is a single wall, this might be a 1 or 2 wall part, but this looks like the plastic is moving because it's such a thin wall item. You could try, if you are using layer fan, now some people use layer fans with PETG, some people don't. I'm kind of in between. It really depends on how it's coming out. But this is usually a result, and you'll see this on parts that are like this, where it's a thin part coming up just like this. And it's basically because it's moving. You can try slowing down your print speed and see if that helps and give it more time to cool, for the previous layer to cool. If you aren't using a layer fan, try kicking it on a little bit, because what's happening as you're printing is the plastic is wanting to expand and contract, and it's going to move, and you end up with these waves. I've had prints that look like this before. So yeah, so he said 0.6 millimeter single wall. I'm definitely going to say it looks like, if I had to put money on it and put, you know, if someone's like, I'll bet you $10 it's this, I'd probably bet that it's an issue with the cooling interfering with this, either a lack of cooling or overcooling, because you can overcool filament, and it behaves really weird, because I have some machines that have a beefy layer fan setup, and it's warranted in some applications. That one printer would be Bertha, which has a 0.8 nozzle, and if I'm really pushing the plastic, I need the dual fans. But if I'm just printing at a standard layer height like 0.2 or 0.3 millimeters, and I have the fan on full blast, I actually end up getting curling because I'm overcooling. It's cooling it too quickly, and it wants to pull up and contract. So yeah, that's one of those situations where you're going to have to play with your settings. You're going to be less likely to have that happen if you're doing 2 walls instead of 1. But it's basically, the problem is the plastic's moving. So you got to try to change your settings, whether that's giving it more cooling or less cooling. You're going to have to play with it, give it more cooling or less cooling, so it's not moving as it's printing. Let's see. Jim upstate New York is, he's got a Franken build. It's a Tronxy Core XY. He's gonna put the CR6 hot end slash bed level combo on there. Are the settings going to be 0 for the position of the sensor because it uses the nozzle? Yes, it should. I've had hit and miss things with that. I know those are pretty cheap. My problem with those hot ends is you're stuck with that hot end, but I guess you can always change it out. But yeah, it would be there'd be no offset, because it's the nozzle is it's using the nozzle to probe. So Bees is asking, trying to make a Bowden direct with 2 stepper motors running in series / parallel? Are you saying you want to have a setup that's got 2 motors that are driven all the time, and you can either feed it Bowden or feed it direct? That seems like it seems like a waste, because the benefit of Bowden is you have a lighter hot end, and the benefit of the direct drive is you got a shorter filament drive path. And basically, whatever direct drive, if you're gonna have a motor on there anyways, you might as well just make it direct drive. Maybe I'm interpreting that wrong, but I'm just going off of what I have here. Nemo Griff is asking about our pancake stepper that we carry. Can the wires be removed, or are they soldered to the board on the motor? No, they come with a removable plug, just like what you're used to with your other stepper motors. We don't sell any motors, and I probably won't ever sell motors that have the wires pre-attached, because I hate them. Yeah, so Jonathan Barnes is asking, do you run all metal hot ends at a lower temp than the standard Creality hot ends, or the same when you're printing PLA? I typically print at the same temperatures. So, and I have a mix of all metal and like PTFE lined hot ends. So, but yeah, I run the same stuff. Filament Frenzy is here. I haven't seen him in a while. Hope you're doing well, man. Across the pond over there. Julio says, does unified firmware / your start code make my machine home when I start a program? Well, our starting, those are two different things. So no, the firmware will not do anything that your G code doesn't tell it to do. But our starting code by nature usually has a G28. So yes, so your starting code will have a G28. He says, he asked because he purchased a Creality laser and the process should not make it home at the beginning. Yeah, so you're going to want to run a separate profile. You probably could use Lightburn. But you'll probably want to run a separate G-code process for the laser versus the printer. So, Doc Brown's asking about the ETA on the Easy Neo in the store for the Easy Board. So I'm going to stock the strips and the universal power adapters tomorrow, and we'll send out an email. But like I said, while we have these physical boards in, the problem is I don't have the connecting cables. I'm waiting on the connecting cables to come in from the supplier. So, but we will have them. We have the boards. I'm just waiting on the cables. I can't send these out without the cables because you can't use them without the cables. So, Clayton Smith, what are your thoughts about designing and marketing a makerspace? I would not want to deal with that many people messing with machines. I feel like I would get easily frustrated with people breaking stuff. I will say this, it doesn't seem like a makerspace is a very profitable thing unless you're at a very large scale. If you're at a smaller scale, it seems like it's more of a passion project and money sink, and you're doing it because you love running the space. But, you know, it depends on what your angle is. One guy you would want to reach out to is Joe over at Makers on Tap. There's Joe, Aaron, and Chris, and they run a makerspace down in Peoria, Illinois. But if you look up Makers on Tap, you can probably find a way to get a hold of them. But they run a makerspace down there, and it just seems like one of those things where it's a time suck, it's a money suck, and you do it because you love running it. It's not a very profitable thing unless it's very large. There are some large makerspaces, like I know there's one in downtown Chicago. I believe they're in the old Motorola building, and they have a monthly fee that you pay, and if you get enough people and you have enough equipment to attract people, then it might be worth it. But it seems like one of those things where it's hard. It wouldn't be something I would ever want to get into as my source of income. So, all right, let's see here. I'm trying to get caught up on the streams. It seems like some streams you guys have a ton of questions, and other streams it's like crickets. So, let's see. Ryan Nichols is asking about flashing firmware on a 1284p board. Well, the first step typically with any 1284p board is making sure you have a bootloader on it. I haven't come across a 2560 board that hasn't had a bootloader. I'm sure they exist, but I haven't come across one that came with a printer or that I purchased separately. But the 1284p boards, they typically will not have bootloaders. The only company I've seen that ships 1284p boards with bootloaders already on them would be Anycubic and their Mega Zeros. Both of ours had the bootloaders, but if you're trying to upload firmware to it and it's just timing out, it's probably because you don't have a bootloader installed on it, or make sure you check this first, you have a slicer open or something else that's tying up the COM port. So when you plug your printer into your computer, it actually shows up as a COM port, and the software, whether you're printing from a slicer or something else, a G-code sender program like Pronterface, it's just sending serial data. So if something is connecting to that COM port and you try to flash, you're not going to be able to flash because that COM port's tied up. But the number one reason you're not going to be able to update firmware on a 1284p is because you don't have a bootloader. So head over. I just remembered we have a page on there, and it's bootloader.th3dstudio.com, and that's got details and a video along with the link to our piece of kit that we have for flashing the bootloader. I'm trying to type and talk at the same time, and it doesn't work very well. I see someone asking something about a filament sensor. Did I miss their first one? Oh, it's broken up. Okay, so Chad is asking... I'm looking here. I'm trying to make sense of this. I don't know. I saw you were talking about Cura and tuning, but then you're asking, am I right that it won't work with the filament sensor then? I'm not sure because I don't have the rest of the information. So feel free to post it in chat, and I'll circle back to it. So anyways, those of you guys that, like I said, we're waiting on the cable, should we open up a pre-order that will ship in about a week and a half to 2 weeks tops? I'm hoping it gets quicker. They get here quicker for the cables, but would you guys just want to pre-order them, so to speak? Like, we physically have them, we just don't have the cables. For you guys that have the EasyBoard V1. This is only for the EasyBoard V1. When we come out with the V2 in about a month and a half, we will have it built in. So I'm kind of thinking we just stock how many we have and just put in big bold text on the product page and in the product name, pre-order. So, I mean, because they could come next week. I'd just rather be conservative and tell you guys it's going to be a week and a half to 2 weeks and they show up, you know, in a couple days. It's so hard to gauge stuff these days with shipping delays. Nemogriff, I just saw Nemogriff's comment about the makerspace. Do you like clueless people breaking expensive equipment and not giving a shit? I feel like that's accurate. Yeah, I don't think I could do it. I think I'd end up yelling at too many people. Let's see. Seems like a lot of people got the email notification. Yeah, it goes out at around 4:30 p.m. our time, which is Central Time. So, John Santiago is asking about the VoxLab Aquila. Yes. So right now my time has been tied up. If you guys notice our help center, there's a lot of articles for the Easy Neos. My time's been tied up with that and firmware updates. So I'm trying to get that product launched. And then next week, because we won't have any new products launching next week, will be firmware time. And sadly, the Aquila is not going to be next. I want to get the Chiron finished up. So, because we got everything designed, now all that I have left is just to do the firmware for it. And now that we have the update for the firmware for Marlin 2091, my nose is driving me nuts right now, if you guys can't tell. I'm trying not to... Ooh! But yeah, so it'll be... My plan is Chiron and then Aquila. So, and I have the Aquila X2. Oh, wait, it's right there. That's another printer we'll be doing a video on. So, Robian's asking when we get more EasyBoard Lite. So there will be no more of these made because we can't get the processors. But the V2 is in the final stages. So the new EasyBoard, we're dropping the Lite naming because we packed more features onto the new one. So I feel like it's not really accurate to call it a Lite model. This was our first foray. Like, this is literally the first board we ever made, and it went great. So the EasyBoard V2, we're trying to target mid-August for the release. But we have a working V2. I'm just waiting on the retail revisions to get here so we can test them and make sure there's no issues with the new board revision. So Bartic is asking about how is shipping to Canada during the apocalypse. Been out of the game for 2 years, just got back in. It's hit and miss. Actually, one of our guys that I chat with in our Discord server, I sent him a package. When did I ship it out? It's hit and miss. Like, sometimes it gets there in a couple weeks, and other times it's taken like a month. I wish I could be like, oh yeah, it'll take a week. I have no idea. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's just if you're, especially if you're international, if you're ordering from us, just order from us, and only order for us if you're okay that it could take up to a month or more for your order to get here. If you're doing first class mail, if you're doing one of the faster shipping services, those seem to have their stuff together. But USPS first class, it's all over. If you're international, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's a crapshoot. That's why if you guys notice, if you're international and you check out, the first class shipping says 10 to 60 days because that's the time frame we're seeing packages delivered. I would say most of them are getting there in about 2 to 3 weeks. And there's, the outliers that are taking a couple months. It seems like when our packages go out of here, there's a main hub in Chicago, and that's where international packages go and just sit for like 2 to 3 weeks. They won't track, and all of a sudden they'll start moving. Like, if you guys saw, we dropped PayPal, I think it was last week or the week before, because we kept having international people doing chargebacks because they're, expecting their stuff to get there in 2 weeks, even though we've said, hey, it could be up to 2 months. It's just how shipping is right now going outside the U.S. And their package just started tracking again on the 14th, and it looks like it's going to get delivered, which means I'm going to be able to go appeal that with PayPal and get my money back because they'll have their products. But yeah, PayPal doesn't care. PayPal doesn't seem to actually give a shit that these delays are happening. I don't know how they're not aware of it. They've probably been dealing with it for the last year, but it's all over. It's all over the place. My theory is, and this is just a theory based on talking to people, I think it has to do with, especially when it's going off the continent, it seems like they might be putting everything into containers, and it would make sense because there's like a 3 to 4 week delay. There's like no tracking updates, and all of a sudden it starts getting tracking updates in the destination country. So I don't know what the excuse is going up to Canada. Maybe the Mounties are taking forever to inspect the packages coming in through customs, but your guys' guess is as good as mine. Superconductor's asking, he said my part cooling fan wire detached to the motor side. Standard repairs to resolder? Question mark. Any way to prevent it? Question mark. You can try to resolder it. Be very careful. I have done that in a pinch. Any way to prevent it? If you can fix it, put some hot glue on it. Just make sure it doesn't touch the rotor, but I have done that before. So, let's see here. Scrolling down, getting caught up. Seth Ryan is asking, Ender 5 Plus or Ender 6? I don't feel like it's a fair comparison because they're two different classes of printer in my opinion. The Ender 6, you buy an Ender 6 because you want a Core XY. You buy an Ender 5 Plus because you want a ton of build volume. So that should answer your question there. I have both, and I like both. So I think they're both good machines. They're just two different use cases because the Ender 6 is like 250 by 250 by 3 something for the build volume, whereas the Ender 5 Plus is like 350 by 350 by 400, I believe. I'm just going off of memory. I know the build size is correct on X and Y. I don't remember how tall on Z those are. Let's see here. My chat jumped. I'm trying to figure out where it was. Where is it? Okay, there we go. Try to look for the last comment I read. Let's see. H Goblin says, any way to prevent the Ender 6 bed from lowering when still powered on but not printing? So you could, now if you're using our firmware, I believe, now don't hold me to this, I believe we have it so the Z motor doesn't shut off. But if you disable the motors, it's going to drop. The easiest way would be to put an anti-backlash nut on it. I actually don't have that issue with my Ender 6. Like, I just looked over at it, and the bed has never just dropped down on me. But an anti-backlash nut would be the easiest way. The only thing is I haven't taken apart that portion of that to know if the ones we carry fit on there. I'm going to say they probably won't because the design of that printer is so different from all the other Creality machines. But I will take a look at it after the stream and see. But I don't believe that would fit the nuts we carry. So, but the easiest way would be to do an anti-backlash nut on it, and that'll usually stop stuff from dropping down. Yeah, so I see people chiming in about the Easy Neos and the Easy Board adapters. I'll open up a pre-order on them, and I'm just gonna put on there. So what if today's the 16th? They should ship by the end of the month. If you get, I'm talking about the strip plus this board. If you get just the strip with the universal power adapter or just the strip itself, those will ship out normally because we have all that already. Like I said, I'm waiting on the little jumper wires for these. So, best way to clear out a blockage, pretty sure it's due to heat creep out of mosquito hot end. So you guys are going to laugh. You guys are going to laugh about how I clear stuff. So so I've had printers where the hot end fan fails, and the heat creep causes the filament to bulge up into the heatsink area. So the easiest way I found is to just heat it back up again and pull out as much filament as you can, then shove more filament down in, pull it out, shove it down, pull it out, until you start getting filament feeding back through the nozzle. Once you have filament feeding back through the nozzle, yank it out, and then let the heatsink cool down and try to feed back again. So basically use the heater, use the hot ends heater to reheat it back up to then clear out the blockage. That's going to be the easiest way I've found. I've tried physically pulling it apart. The problem is once that filament is hardened in there, it's really hard to get it out. The best way is to make it soft again, try to either push it through or put more filament in there and yank it out quickly until you clear the blockage entirely. So, and if it's due to heat creep, make sure you change your fan. So, let's see here. Hank is asking, thanks for the YouTube video stream, or YouTube video and stream email sign up link. You guys are welcome. I hope that works. I feel like this is the easiest way to attack it. Basically, everybody's got an email address. I feel like everybody watching here has an email address, and the email system works. So, let's see. Matthew Barclay is asking about the BTT Octopus on an IDEX printer. I do not mess with IDEX printers. I have had no use for them. But read the Marlin documentation. They do have a lot of stuff for IDEX in Marlin. I believe the Octopus runs Marlin. I know some of you nerds have it in chat. Am I correct? I feel like I saw that in Marlin 209. Because there are IDEX, Marlin does support IDEX printers. I'm just double checking. I'm like 99.9% sure that they have that already in Marlin 209.1. Oh dear God, their site is taking forever to load. Okay, well, it just timed up. All right. The LED light, will it work with the filament sensor? Oh yeah, these will work fine with the filament sensor. So the only, I'm going to put this on the site. So the only boards that these are going to be a problem with is if you have one of the old 1284Ps, because one, you don't have any extra I/O pins typically, and two, you don't have enough space. The 2560 boards they work with and the 32-bit boards they work with, they got more space, they got more I/O pins typically. So if you have like a V112, 113, 114, 115 Creality board, like one of those older ones, the Melzy style, and you want to start adding stuff like this on, it's probably best to upgrade. But if you have like a 2560 board, I just did a bunch of documentation for the Creality 2560 boards, and you're fine with those. So even if you have the older 8-bit boards with the 2560 chips, they'll be working fine, and you can use them with a filament sensor, you can use them with auto bed leveling. You know, they're really cool, and I'm eventually going to get documentation too, because you could actually drive these from a Raspberry Pi as well with Octoprint, because there's plugins for Octoprint to run these style pixels, the NeoPixels, and all you need is an I/O pin and 5-volt power. So they're very simple devices. Basically, you give them 5 volts, and then there's a control line, and you send the signal down the line telling it how many LEDs you want to light up, what color, what brightness. So. But these would also work, you guys, home automation nerds, if you guys want to use something like this in like projects, and you can see these are on a hard mounted PCB. You could even control these with like an ESP32 or an 8266. So, and all the pinouts are on the help center for the strip, so you guys can look at it and be like, oh, okay, that's how I hook it up. Let's see. Do 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 do. Boo boo boo. There's a lot of chatter. You guys are really chatter. Let's see. Doc Brown, any reason to upgrade from the EasyBoard V1 to the V2? You're not going to get better print quality. We're just doing a refresh on it. So if you have your EasyBoard V1, run it till it dies. You know, I'm not going to... Unfortunately, we make products that last a while, so you might be waiting a while to have an excuse to upgrade. But there'll be a lot of new stuff. There's going to be quite a bit new features on there. There's gonna be a lot more usability improvements and user friendliness. So like we've been running these boards for over a year now, so we've taken a lot of feedback from customers. Adding new things onto the board directly, adding some ID10T protections to the board as well. So, but in terms of is there going to be anything the V2 can do in terms of print speeds and quality that the V1 can't do? No, there's not. Just gonna be another solid board, just a newer version, bigger processor, faster processor, but we're not even getting close to maxing out the V1's processor. So I'm not gonna lie to you guys just to sell boards. Let's see. And chat jumped, so I'm moving back up. We were talking about upgrading. Okay, let's see. What's on the agenda for this weekend? Cleaning up my basement and putting down grass seed in my backyard because it got dug up again. We had to run a sewer line. So yeah, I have a 350-foot trench that got dug out and all my grass is screwed up now. So I have to go plant seed and level it out by hand because I don't own a skid steer. Let's see. Tomavel said, we were talking about shipping. He said, so offer different shipping options for international. So we do have multiple shipping options. We have the USPS option, so the standard first class, which is the cheaper one, and priority, and we also have UPS. So we don't do enough volume to get good rates from DHL. UPS was the one company that was actually able to get us decently competitive rates. FedEx was astronomical, and so was DHL. So let's see here. Kafeg is asking, where do you recommend the Easy Neo strips? On the underside of the top rail of a printer? Yeah, so on like the Ender 3, on the top, underneath the top rail, I am going to model up some little angle brackets that you could print. For machines like the Ender 6, you can angle it at like a 45-degree angle onto the print bed, but you could also screw it directly. These are designed to bolt right up to your 2020 extrusion. So we have product photos on here on our site already, but if you guys see here, they have 3 different holes that you can put an M3 screw and nut through, and we include the T-nuts and the screw and even a little hex wrench and the cable and cable clips to tuck your cable into your extrusion and cover it up. So Kyle's asking, do you prefer to direct wire everything when you do a control box delete on a CR10 style printer? Yes, I'm assuming you mean getting rid of those AVA. The stream dropped, didn't it? And I think we're back. Son of Beach. Am I going to have to fail over to the LTE? Or not the LTE, the 5G? Hang on. We're almost done with the stream anyways. Yay, Comcast. Yay. Let's see. What's my IP address? I am on T-Mobile now. All right. Well, it looks like Comcast shit the bed today. I'm going to go ahead and just turn my modem off so it doesn't try to fail back over the Comcast and we're up and down. It's Comcraptic. Hang on. Give me one second. I have an automation that auto turns back on my cable modem, and I want to disable that right now. Hang on. How was shop sync? That's not it. Network monitoring. There we go. Let me just update Node-RED here. All right, so yeah, we are streaming on. We're on T-Mobile 5G. So, anyways, it looks like it's going pretty good. Hopefully, I guess we'll see. Of course, it's got to happen during a stream. But anyways, let's go answer a couple of more questions, and we're gonna see how this holds up. So, hey Comcast, go fuck yourself. I hate you guys' service. You charge me a ton of money for subpar shit. Yeah. I see Ryan Nichols, the guy with the 1284p. He said, I had the bootloader installed on my ANET, but I may have override it while trying to install firmware. That's possible. I would reflash it and make sure you have the OptiBoot bootloader installed. And that would probably be the best one to do because you're going to get more space. So if you flash it early on before the OptiBoot was an option for the ANET, then yeah. I have a pre-order in for Starlink. I see someone chatting about Starlink. I have a pre-order in. Hopefully this is somewhat usable. Let's see if there's a couple other questions because it is getting kind of rough here. It's better than the LTE. At least this works. All right, let me see where we're back. Because chat jumped, the internet went down. Where my live chat is really screwy. Okay, I apologize. Thank Comcast. You have one job. Anywho. Let's see. Are there any quick questions before we get going? Yeah, I don't think Cube is going to work because that you can try. Let's see. Exclamation point Cube. I don't know if that'll work unless everything failed over to the new connection already. Oh, it might work. It's all webhooks. So anyways, I think that's all the questions. I don't know because the chat got all screwed up when the internet went down. Yeah. I see 1V Keller said, I have a Sudloop printer. I want to do independent Z leveling. I know I need a board with separate Z drivers. Any recommendation on a board? MKS SGen LV2 if you want to stick with Marlin. I will not recommend Duet stuff, not because their products are bad quality, but because their firmware is insanely frustrating to set up. The MKS SGen LV2 would be a really good board to drop in there, and we actually carry that one. That's one of the universal ones we carry. Let's see how quick my internet's going to respond here. You know what bothers me? I'm going to go on a little rant here. So T-Mobile fucking filters requests to external DNS servers on port 53. So I actually have to tunnel my DNS when I'm failed over to it because I have local DNS servers here. I actually have to tunnel over HTTPS my DNS request because if I go directly to an IP, the T-Mobile 5G will block it because they want to mine your data where you're going to sell to advertisers, which is absolute bullshit. But yeah. But yeah, like 1V Keller, if you want to stick with Marlin, the MKS SGen LV2 is a solid board for the price. So board and 5 drivers is $61 from us, and we ship that here from the US. So I will be putting together NeoPixel. So these we have in stock. The only thing that will be a pre-order is these because we're waiting on the cable. So everything else will ship out. Like if you have an EasyBoard V1 and you don't mind, you know, wiring up the universal harness here, if you want to see what's involved with that, it's on our help center. There's directions already. You can use this with it instead of using the little plug-on board. You just need 5 volts power going to them, and that's what this little board does, but the little universal kit also does that well. It's just not plug and play. You just solder 2 wires. So, but yeah, anyways, I think we're good. I'm going to wrap this up because the T-Mobile's doing pretty good. I'll give them this. It's a 5G connection. It's doing pretty good. But it's it's getting ready to storm. That would make sense why Comcast is having issues. It's been raining all day here. Anyways, I'm sorry about the interruption. Comcast has one job, and you know, God forbid they do it. Why do they always have freaking service interruptions in the middle of my goddamn streams? Every time. They can never just go down when I'm not streaming. It's always when I'm streaming. It makes no sense. Well, anyways, I appreciate everybody stopped by. I hope you guys learned something. I hope you guys enjoyed the banter. And I'm not going to forget giving my baby a treat. He's like, I know what this is. Come here. Okay, come here. Come over here. Come here. Sit. Sit. Shake. Good boy. Touch. Good boy. There you go. All right, well, Remo and I are going to go enjoy our weekend. I will be putting the pre-order stuff together. For the EasyBoard power modules for the Easy Neos, and we will get those on the site this weekend. You know, one thing, and we do have this in the documentation, there's some boards that do have 5-volt pins available to them, but when I was testing, so like if you have an Ender 6 with a 431 board, or you have an Ender 3 with a 422, the part numbers on their 5-volt regulators do say they're good up to 3 amps, but the problem I found is that they actually start sagging by about 0.3 volts and they run really hot. So I highly recommend just give it their own little thing. These are literally $5. They come with the jumper wires, and you just splice in 2 wires. You can see what you're getting into before you purchase it by clicking on the wiring documentation. And I'll show you guys this really quick here. Let's see if this works. Did this seriously go down again? Did it seriously go down again? Are we back? Are we back? What the hell? What the? Okay. No, worse. Okay, I guess we're back on the Comcast. Anyways, so the strips themselves, we have these in stock. So these we have, they're not stocked on the site, but we physically have these. So these will not be delayed in shipping. The only thing that will be delayed in shipping, and I will make sure to edit the product name saying that this is a pre-order, and then putting when they're going to ship, which will be by the end of the month at the very latest. Hopefully it's not that long. But this is what I was showing off, and what I was using to power it. This plugs right onto the EasyBoard 1.2. It's an expansion module. The only thing is, if you are using this header, because if you have a PT100, you're going to use this header for an I/O pin, or if you're using a touch screen, you can't use this with a touch screen or a PT100 because it's all using the same header. So, but I feel like there's a very small percentage of people that are actually using the header for stuff right now. But I do have a note here. Please note that this uses a 6-pin header to connect. So, but anyway, so there's that. These are the only ones that'll be delayed on shipping out. We have the universal kits here. It's the step down, and we include some jumper wires to make the connections. And if you want to see what the connections are that you have to make, we have a step-by-step guide here. You just need a soldering iron, some solder, some tape or heat shrink, and it's really simple. You're going to put the little jumpers into the end plug here, snip the output, take some other jumpers, snip these, splice them in. I was very detailed with the photos. It's a very simple process. You're literally soldering 2 wires on the output side, and then we go ahead and we plug them into the 3-pin. So it looks like a lot. It's really not. You're just making this little cable harness here. I don't have the staff to pre-wire all these, so and plus it would bring the cost up. So if you don't mind literally soldering 2 wires and, you know, taping your heat shrink them, this is a great option for powering them if your board doesn't have the power to do it. You know, in the case of our EasyBoard V1, the regulator actually can handle 3 amps, but the fuse is only half an amp. So we need at least 0.8 amps, 0.9 amps on 5 volts to run the Easy Neo strips. So anyways, I will talk to you guys later. I am going to call and yell at Comcast if it goes down again. Apparently we're back, but I hope you guys learned something. I hope you guys like the stream. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and I will be sure to post on all of our social media and our email list when the ordering for the Easy Neos is open tomorrow. So I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching, and as always, happy printing.